the course director, should I call you that? And professor of IRMA, plus ladies and gentlemen present here. It's a great honor for me to be called today, requested today to come and speak at your Elimination of Discrimination Against Women Pakwara. I know that this is a UN sponsored program which has been going on all across India, but I'm happy to be invited today because for me coming to IRMA, I've come I think after several years. I think last I visited IRMA when I was posted at the National Police Academy, and I had brought a batch of IPS officers during their Bharat Darshan. And I remember IRMA coming to first to the Amul milk factory, and then I brought the probationers to see IRMA, and it was still under construction. And today when I see this place, it's a throbbing place. The way the gardens are laid out, the trees speak for themselves. It's as now an old and established academy, and I'm happy to be here, and happy that Preeti traced me out. That story I have to still hear from her, how she connected with me, because I don't think I had ever met her or come across her. So I would like to divide my talk today as per your topic in three parts. The first part is discrimination against women. My second part will be violence at workplace against women, and the third part is the way ahead. I will speak to you mostly from personal experiences so that it creates a real impact. And I can start with my own story first. I come from Bihar, and I was brought up in a very feudal family where the only aim for educating a daughter was to find a good groom. We were three sisters and a brother who came much later, but the entire focus of this joint family in which I was brought up was only to make sure that I knew cooking well, I knew embroidery, I could stitch clothes, I could look after the large family. If my mother ever went to the village, the keys of the house at the age of 10 or 12 were handed over to me to manage my sisters and the house. And in those days in houses like ours, we had people coming all the time, coming and going, guests were coming. So that is the way I was groomed. Now I was a good student at school, but at school my grandfather was a doctor. He always wrote a letter for me to exempt me from PT or any kind of physical training on the day I would have a PT class. So that is the way I was brought up. It was not expected of me to build my stamina, to build my strength, to think of a career. So much so that if I was ever late in my college, in my school, I would not even dare to take a rickshaw, or those days there was no auto, we had these rickshaws. I had not got the guts even to take a rickshaw home. That is the way I was protected and the way I was brought up. And suddenly, after I qualified in my in the ICSE exams, I did well because education was important. I was supposed to go to Delhi University and study in the Lady Irving College. That was a college which was a very elitist college for grooming women. So I wanted to go and study there because a lot of girls in my family were studying, and I thought कि Delhi में जाके पढ़ते हैं, education in Delhi will be very interesting. But a day before I was going, my fees was paid, my boxes were packed, etc. My father went to my grandfather and to my grandmother and said that please stop her from going. She is determined to go, but I am not happy about her going because it will be like fixing her marriage. It will be like a bidai. You know what a bidai is? When the girl is finally sent from the parents' home to her in-laws' place. So the next day, my tickets were cancelled and I was home. It was a bitter feeling. Imagine you are all set to go to study in Delhi, and then you are told that you can't go because you are going to get, it will be like a bidai. I was not getting married then. And this is the way life was for me. And then if you happen to read my book, Madam Sir, you will hear the rest of the story. I don't want to say everything, but circumstances turned out to be so that I had to take up a career, and I decided to take charge of my life and do things the way I wanted to live my life and stand on my feet. So at this time I decided to take the civil services exams, and I qualified for the civil services exams. But let me tell you that even after I had qualified for the exams and qualified for the IPS, my father was not permitted, was not ready to send me to the IPS training. He felt, this is a police job, how can you do it? It will be very difficult. And you know, we have these exaggerated stories that you have some of the toughest training, you are on PT and parade the whole day, and the training goes on for 24 hours, so how will you do it and all. Finally, when people came and told my father that Kiran Bedi has been marching on the Rajpath that year, why don't you send her, let her go at least. Then my father relented, and let me tell you that this was not due to any hostility on the part of my father. It was the atmosphere of sheltering all the time. That was the atmosphere most of the time in the 70s and all. Few people were breaking new paths, but in Bihar and all, we were not expected to take up a career. It was a very, very sheltered. It was his love for me that prevented him to take any bold step for me. So then I went to the police academy, and I was pleasantly surprised. I sent a telegram to my father saying that 6 girls, this is what I wrote to him. And then they felt very relieved that among 110 boys, I'm not going to be the only one. And that telegram my father had preserved. Last year after my mother's death, when I opened his cupboard, I found that that telegram was very sentimentally preserved. So what I want to tell you is that whatever was not happening because they wanted to crush my interest, but this overprotective parents in a very, very feudal atmosphere. Now the IPS training is one of the toughest training which we undergo, and that year, if you remember 1972, you all have all heard of Kiran Bedi? Yes, she was in 72, then there was one in 73, there was one lady in 74, one in 75, and then 6 of us came in 76. So the atmosphere in the academy was that somehow to retain us, they wanted more and more women to join, but there was such an aura about the physical training, etc., that women were, even after qualifying for the IPS, were not joining the police service. So it is one of the toughest training, and it is a fact that we start from 6 o'clock in the morning, and when the day ends you don't know. Morning starts with PT, then you have parade, then you have drill with firearms, then the whole day from 9:30 to about 5 o'clock you have all the internal subjects, the law subjects, forensic medicine, forensic science. Then in the afternoon you start motor driving, wireless training, riding, horse riding, firing practice, and late evening when you come back to your quarters in the evening, then the guest lectures start. You know, senior officers, senior bureaucrats, all kinds of people visiting, and you have to be present till your eyes are closing and you're ready to hit the bed. So it was a very tough training. I remember the first day when I was asked to go and do my rounds, I could not even complete one round of the parade ground. It was so bad. But the only consolation is that if I am having swollen feet and swollen ankles, it was the men also who were going through this process. Why? Because for the IPS, it is brains and not bronze. They don't test you for your strength, they test you for the written exams. So that is how we all survived. But why I want to link this, why I am telling you about this is the kind of discrimination there was. And discrimination not because of hostility, the discrimination started at home. Girls are supposed to do this, the men are supposed to do this. It was a clear-cut division in a joint family, and most of our middle-class homes or feudal homes in those days. Now after the training, when I arrive in Bihar and I present myself before the IG, that is a story which you must read here. The IG continued to look at his files. I am in my full uniform with my stars and everything. He did not look up. And finally, after a few seconds, which were like few hours for me, he looks up and he says that, what is this that you have come for? What is it that I can do for you? I have to get Kiran Bedi's file from Delhi. I'll study that and then decide what to do with you. So can you imagine, 6 officers, 5 men and 1 me, 6 of us report to the state for training, and I have completed my training the same way as the men. Let me tell you that between the for the IPS training, there is no difference between the training of a man and a woman. It is absolutely the same. If I cannot climb the rope, then the marks are lost. But then I have done equally well, much better than the men in my internal subjects. So the training is the same. There is no difference in our uniform. There is no difference in our fire practice or the horse riding practice or anything. And then you come to the state, and this is where again the discrimination starts. The discrimination against women, which we are all hoping to eliminate. And for quite a few weeks I was not posted, whereas that evening only all the orders were posted for the men. Finally he did post me to Patna district for my training, and once I had done my field training, and again I'm doing night rounds, I'm going everywhere, I'm asked to go for inspections, going with the constables, attending the police sabhas and all. When I finished that the practical training, again he says that no, I can't post you anywhere, it is very dangerous for you. You know, this overprotectiveness of women is also a very discriminatory factor, I feel. By saying that, no, you are a girl, please don't do this, don't go for a night round, I feel this is also a kind of violence, which I think that it is just stopping you from going ahead. And then again he posted me to the CID. I continued in the CID feeling very miserable for many days, and then months actually doing nothing, and people pitying me, people feeling sorry for me but not doing anything. Finally I was given a subdivision, which I did very well. The day I joined, there was a murder, and then the sub-inspectors came and said, Madam, this is a salami for you. So this is the way it moved forward. Again, when the promotion comes for becoming a superintendent of police or the SP of a police, again the DG felt the same thing. You can't go to a district, it is okay to be a subdivision. Wo chota sa cheez hai, you managed, but I'm scared for you, how can you go to a district? So 3 years back to CID, back to a desk job, just not doing much. And but I am one person who's persistent. I don't give up. I'll tell you the same thing. If you are ever posted in a place which is not meant for you, don't give up. Continue to work. Somebody will notice your work and post you. And sure enough, they posted me to Bokaro, where I did extremely well. And from there in Bokaro, I was there for 3 years, and there I was selected for the National Police Academy to train IPS officers. And once I was selected for that because of my good performance, and more women were joining the IPS, that I was selected, and then I did not look back. From there on, things moved, my horizon expanded. I was teaching in so many, I was interacting with so many people, interacting with the states, training 500 to 600 IPS officers. It was a novel experience. And the women who were joining looked up to me for counseling, mentoring, helping them all. Every time a woman went to the state for the first time, she had to face some similar situation. But in 5 years, I would like to share with you that today all the chiefs of police in the states have been my trainees. Even the DG of Gujarat has been my trainee. Even the Commissioner of Police Baroda has been my trainee, and it is a matter of great satisfaction for me to see that I could train these people and make some meaningful contribution to their lives. So I would also now like to tell you that while discrimination against women and the girl child starts at home, discrimination is still continuing at every level. There I see a lot of girls over here. I also see men. I have seen the video which you have put up for me. But let me tell you about just some figures which I want to share with you, and it will make it clear to you how discrimination is still there. You know, there is 30% reservation for women in almost all the states in India. But you will be surprised to know that women police constitute only 10.9% of the total strength. They have not gone up. There has been this reservation for many years, but women are not coming, people are not allowing them to come forward. They feel that it is a man's world, why should we be there? Then in some of the states, the number of women police is less than 5%. In the paramilitary forces, which is the CRP, CISF, ITBP and all this, there is 33% reservation for women, and yet in those forces also the entire figure, about we have 10 lakh women, we have 10 lakh personnel in these paramilitary forces, but only 29,000, a few hundred women are still employed, and this 33% has been there for many, many years. So government is trying to push very hard that women should join the forces, but it is not happening. It is taking very, very long, and let's hope that in another 10 years the figures will go up. And then I came across this article in the newspaper where it talks about the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. It must be this same program, and the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres gives a message, and he says that every 11 minutes a woman or a girl is killed by an intimate partner or a family member. This is the situation pertaining to women. And then he said they have put up a report, the report jointly produced by UN Women and the UN Statistics Division. And this says that the report shows that globally more than 1 in every 10 women and girls aged between the age of 15 and 49 was subjected to sexual or physical violence by an intimate partner in the previous year. The report also highlighted that despite progress on laws to address and prevent violence against women, at the current rate, it will take at least 21 years for these laws to be in place everywhere around the world. So you can imagine how far behind we are. And I will now read out two cases, and it will show you how stark this situation is in dealing with crime against women. And you all have all come from the village at the later part of this evening. I hope you will share with me what you have observed in the village. When I was posted in the subdivision, there was a case which happened, and I'd like to show you this case. Sorry, I'm trying to find that. A girl had died in her in-laws' home, and they were taking the body to the river to dispose of it, either by cremating it or dumping it in the water. And early in the morning I had received this message that a body was being taken to the Son River under the Behta police station, and this is what I came to know, that a girl had died in her in-laws' place and the body was being taken for disposal. I immediately headed for Behta, giving instructions over the wireless to the officer in charge to immediately proceed to the river. We had to stop before they got rid of the body, thereby destroying the most crucial evidence. The officer in charge arrived on the river bank just in time to intercept the funeral procession. Abandoning the body, everybody ran away. When we inspected the body, we saw the girl had suffered severe burns, so we sent the body for a post-mortem. But then there was another problem. Even though the people said that the girl was killed by her in-laws, there was nobody to record an FIR. Most of the time you will find that people know the truth, but in the village they will not come to record an FIR, nor they will tell you the facts. The girl was originally from another district. I sent a team there to meet her parents and bring them to the police station. The parents came bringing with them letters from the daughter written over a period of time, letters that revealed that her husband and her in-laws had been constantly pressurizing her to ask the father for more money. She had written about how they would taunt and torture her. The girl's letters spoke of a young woman's dashed dreams, of the depths of human greed, and the harsh reality awaiting many girls in our country who are married off without either education or economic independence. The girl came from a very poor family. They have murdered our daughter because we could not satisfy their greed for more dowry. The parents wept bitterly. They lodged an FIR and we proceeded with the case. Throughout my career, the plight of women, especially when they have fallen victim to a patriarchal society and cruel practices, have had a profound impact on me. It was as if the eyes of those girls haunted me, spurring me to seek justice on their behalf. Now, I registered an FIR and I started arresting the husband's family. And they said that she had committed suicide, and some said that while she was cooking, her clothes had caught fire and she had died. But based on the evidence I had collected, I slapped a murder case against all of them. I was busy preparing to fight the case on behalf of a girl whom I did not know when she was alive, but who had become so important to me in her untimely death. Little did I know that in our country, waging a legal battle is not always enough. One day the girl's parents came to me with folded hands and started pleading with me to close the case. I suspected the family of the accused was threatening them. Of being poor and old, they were scared to pursue the case. What they told me left me stunned to my very core. No, we have come to withdraw our complaint because they have agreed to marry their son to our second daughter. So we want to put this case behind us and take them out of jail. Of course, as a professional, I could not allow the course of justice to be derailed by this devious scheme of the accused to escape punishment. I told them I would not withdraw the case. All these decades later, I still remember that old man standing before me with palms folded, tears streaming down his face, begging me not to prosecute his murderous son-in-law because he had agreed to marry another of his daughters. I now come to the second part of my talk about gender-based violence. You know, gender-based violence at the workplace is a huge problem today. People have been talking about diversity and inclusion. I think you must have also discussed this topic, right? Diversity and inclusion. But you cannot have diversity unless you have ethical behavior. And what does ethical behavior mean? At the workplace also, you must give an equal opportunity to women to work. Not that we start, I say that the fact that there is inequality in pay is also a kind of violence. The fact that you don't get your promotions on time, there are no facilities for women in workplaces, there are no proper toilets, there is no system of giving leave, there is no system of giving her promotions on time. Often the men are overlooked, the women are overlooked for giving a promotion to a colleague. All this is a kind of a violence at the workplace. But as I just tell a very amusing incident, a person who got the first prize, he talked about a pink shirt. I was once at a session like this. It was a small session I was doing in a corporate setting. So a girl there asked me, it was only a girls group, she said that whenever I put pink in any of my PowerPoint presentations, all the men start making fun of me. So she said this in the group, and it was, she says, I feel very bad that just because I have put a pink color, they are making fun of me. Now, this is a kind of gender violence at the workplace. Why must you make a girl feel that because by chance she has put a pink, that she is not capable of making a PowerPoint presentation? It is just another color. But when you want to pick on somebody, or you want to throw a person at the back, you will pick up anything. And I think this law which has come, POSH, which you had a session on prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. It is a very, very important law, and I think this has brought things into the open. Otherwise, for so many years, women were taking all these things silently, and there was nobody to help them and nobody to look at their problems. I will talk about two examples from my own experience. Being a very senior officer in the government of India, I was often asked to conduct these cases under POSH, inquiries against under POSH. So there was one case which happened in a group center in the CRPF. What this case was, that a lady doctor filed a petition before the Ministry of Home Affairs that the DIG in that group center had passed sexually colored remarks, and the ministry deputed me to look into this matter, and I started the inquiry. When I started the inquiry, I found that this lady doctor was a single lady doctor. She was living in a campus, just like you have a campus here, and there was the chief of the campus, that is the DIG. The DIG was also living there alone without his family. This lady doctor was a divorced person, but and she was working very diligently, but the DIG would call her often to the room and say, show his photograph and say, look, I'm such a handsome person, why don't you visit me sometimes in the evening? One day, first she would ignore, but one day when she went to his office with some petition or some work, he actually took out his wallet, and from the wallet he took out his photograph, and he says, can you see this photograph? So this is me, see how handsome I look, why don't you come in to my quarters in the evening? This she felt very humiliated and immediately left the room and went home, and she must have cried or whatever, and because it happened the second time, she decided to file a petition before the Ministry of Home Affairs. Now in this case there is no witness, right? There is nobody who has seen the case. So when I am inquiring into the case, there is nobody to tell me any facts. Nobody has seen her, nobody says anything. Everybody says that this lady doctor is very good in her work, she works very hard, she never shams, she is never missing. But because of the DIG, there was also nobody ready to say anything against him, because in the police we are very hierarchical bound. Very difficult to say anything against a senior officer. So then I continued. The orderly who used to work in her home said that yes, that evening madam was very upset and she was crying. So that is one evidence I had that something had happened because of which she was crying. So then I kept thinking, how do I find an evidence? And I thought, let me see if she has a senior doctor in the campus. So I traced out one doctor. He was from Odisha, and he had a open heart surgery, and he was taking a long leave in Odisha, and he was not coming to the campus for many months. Then one day I got very frustrated because I was getting reminders to close this case, and somehow I felt that this denial by the DIG was not right. Something did not gel, because how would a woman pick up guts to file a complaint in the ministry? So then I contacted this doctor, and the doctor said that yes, that day she was upset. She didn't say anything to me, but she spoke everything to my wife. Now the wife told me that this lady doctor had come to her and told her that this is what has happened. She was very upset. I recorded all that and I submitted my finding that yes, something had happened against her, and that is why this had happened. So the government took a very strict action, and the DIG was compulsorily retired. So government is trying to implement the law in actual practice, and this is an important law. It has brought things in the open after that. There was another case. This is just the opposite of a genuine case. In this case, a lady was living in the quarters in one campus, and her husband had been transferred. He was an inspector. So the commandant or the SP who joined there told her to go vacate the quarters, because in the police we have very small percentage of quarters for families. So the new inspector who had come with his family and he wanted to stay there. And when the family has to move, the children have to be admitted, things have to be settled for him. And this lady was not going out. And then what she did was that she filed a sexual harassment case against the commandant. Now, when the sexual harassment case was filed against the commandant, it came to the headquarters. I mean, we deputed a lady officer to investigate, to inquire into this case. This lady officer investigated the case and sent her report and said that the commandant was guilty. Now, when a commandant is found guilty, everything stops for him in the paramilitary force. His promotion was held up. He was to become a senior commandant or a DIG. That was stopped. We didn't know what to do with him because he had otherwise a very clean reputation. So it was like a dilemma, and I was in charge of personnel department in that organization. So it was an impasse. So one day my junior brought the file and he said, "Madam, please tell us what to do in this file." When I saw this file, I found that the lady who had inquired into this case did not examine any witness. She did not examine any documents as to the commandant telling her to vacate the quarters and what she was replying. All that should have been brought on record. And when I asked her that why have you not done this, she replied very nonchalantly, "Madam, I am an officer, I could not write against another lady officer." So this is a wrong attitude to have. This is like ganging up together and trying to do something. This is also wrong. And I'm sharing this with you is that one is a situation where she was genuinely treated badly and her complaint was inquired into, and here a law is being misused to handle her own personal agenda. So then I said, okay, now let's send the file back for re-inquiry. And the inquiry, I said, even if there is nobody to give evidence, at least bring everything on record, bring the letters on record and everything. And then we found that whatever the commandant had done was right. He was asking her to vacate, and when she could not vacate the quarters, she decided to file a case again and a petition against him, and she also filed a case in the court. So we had to get the court case vacated, we had to get this done, and finally the commandant was given his promotion, etc. Now this is a bad case. This is not a case for which this law was made. The law was made to help genuine cases, and we should not be misusing this whatever law has been given to women. It's an important thing. And in workplaces, if you face violence at workplace, it is important that women face it and not run away from it. You should not be shy that I will not take forward. Men are also sitting here. It is important that you accept women. And if you find that another colleague is misbehaving with a woman with just a verbal abuse, that also you should look into and help her, rather than turn the other way and have an attitude of I don't care. Now there is also this violence at home. Women are also being subjected to violence at home, and again in this report I read that violence against home continues to be a pressing problem, and girl child faces problems at home, sexual violence at home, and there is really nobody to handle this. So workplace violence, sexual violence at home, all have to be looked at in a holistic way. Unfortunately, we have this law which is now being implemented. Even in your guest house where I am staying, I saw today a huge placard there that to create a safe place for everybody there. And then what is our way forward? I think that women themselves first must develop their own abilities in terms of knowledge and abilities in terms of their own physical strength. Physical strength, it gives you a lot of confidence. If you have stamina, you have strength, it gives you confidence to face many rough situations. And you have to have knowledge. Without knowledge, you can't move ahead in life. And to women, I want to say that you must retain your femininity. Very often, in our police job also, women think that being macho is very important. You know, I must dress like a boy, I must talk like a boy. You would have seen films and Netflix and Amazon Prime, etc. about women police, how they are behaving and all. This is not the reality. In reality, men also expect you to be feminine, and you can do all these things being feminine. You can be feminine and be firm. You can be feminine and be very good at your job. You can be feminine and can have stamina. You can be feminine and you can take the group and team along, rather than try to copy something which you are not. Then a woman plays many roles in her life, and you must enjoy every role which you are playing, whether you are a wife, a mother, a daughter-in-law, or a daughter, a person working in the office. Enjoy always all the roles which you have been. That makes you complete. And I think that instead of always thinking that I'm surviving, you should actually learn to thrive. Thrive means enjoy all the roles which you are playing. And finally, to all of you, I want to say that mental integrity is the most important thing which helps you in life. Integrity in all your work, in all your relationships, in whether it is your family relationship in a team, relationship in office. Mental integrity only gives you the strength to work with a group and move ahead. And practice humility. Treat everybody as you would like them to treat you. Don't think, "Arey, hum aaj IPS ho gaye, I can do anything." Many IPS officers, you would think, behave like this. That is the image coming out in the movies. But there are hundreds of IPS officers who work hard. They are the people who are holding the country together. But the image you get is of only those few people you see in the films or you heard stories about. And women in the police have come up in big numbers. I mean, it is amazing the kind of things women IPS officers are doing. And not everybody has the wherewithal like Kiran Bedi to talk, and she's a pioneer, she needed to be like that. But there are hundreds of them doing equally well. Now there are about between 300 to 350 women IPS officers. And listen to your heart, that is what I want to say. And the last thing I would like to tell you is that we all have the ability to reach the top, but it actually needs character to stay there. You have to have a good character, good sense of right and wrong, good sense of values, good ethical behavior. Then only can you maintain your position. Just think of an organization where you're working and you don't trust your boss. Will you be working that hard? But if you have a boss or a colleague whom you trust, then you work closely with them and you take the organization forward. So you will see when you go into the field that in an organization where there is trust, people move better, the organization does better. But when there is no trust, people cannot work together and they are always suspicious of each other. They bring the organization down. So thank you for your patience. If there is any question.